part of the trade-off too is, as you said, some of these people have never seen an iPhone and don't know how to turn on a computer, but they don't have to learn to do that. And that's a point that can be made to them. This is a process that we can help you get the information you need from people who do these kinds of things, and you don't have to learn it. Because those folks are scared of having to learn it. The people that come after them will be with it.
Right.
But you got to say, you don't have to understand it, you just have to let us help you.
And they're policymakers, so they can take that information and make whatever policy decisions they want. I know we're short on time, too, so I appreciate the interest and I appreciate the opportunity to spend this much time talking about this. You know, as you think about other ideas or potential partnerships, if you can let me know, I'd certainly appreciate it, and we'll get those in the mix. So, Jerry?
Jerry, we certainly appreciate it, and I think we can definitely use this forum here as a way to take this project even further, and hopefully that with conversation would be a great idea. So maybe we can work it out.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry.
There's two other things that I wanted to tell you about, and I'll let Danny, if he's got anything else. First of all, I sent Danny an email the other day, and I didn't send it to everybody, but you might be interested in it. Johnson City, Tennessee, Bristol, and Chattanooga has a thing going on called Will It Float. I guess they stole it from Letterman, I don't know. But anyway, it's an entrepreneurial thing, sort of like the Shark Tank that we talked about. But they actually have taken it to the winner receives, I think it's $10,000, and they've got consulting services from all kind of people like accountants and business folks to make sure that as a young enterprise they can get off the ground and so forth. All you have to do is type in Will It Float in Johnson City and it'll come up there. But you might want to look at it. It's an interesting concept. I passed it on to Danny, and I don't know if we'll be taking a look at it. You know, it might be something there. So it appears that Tennessee is becoming very creative, so it might be a state that, since they're next door, we need to.
That's the reason I left Tennessee.
Pardon me?
I grew up right there. Didn't like it.
Well, that's not a good ad for them, is it? But they're becoming creative.
So probably he was a bit slow for the
I
paper.
prevented them, I'm sorry.
Welcome to the great. This is why I left Tennessee.
Can I ask some new issues or time, or are we short?
Well, I got one more, and we are very close, but yeah, we'll give you a second there. The other thing is, you know, our initial discussions we had was very focused on broadband and some of the issues here in Catawba County. I guess I've spoken enough that it finally caught attention and so forth. And at one of the board meetings, on a completely unrelated subject to broadband, one of the commissioners asked me about broadband, and I basically said, well, it's not too good. It's not improving very much here in Catawba County. And that caught attention, and from that, there's been some legislation proposed through the County Commissioners Association. You know, one thing is that cities, they have the ability to provide broadband services, but counties do not. And that was one of the things that they're asking, that we have the same ability, not that Catawba County is going out to provide broadband, but if we had a business that came in here that needed our help, we couldn't even do anything to help them. Okay, so we're trying to get the same permission that the counties do. That's one piece of legislation that's out there. The second piece is that you know, the FCC plan for broadband, it said they wanted to have 100 megabits to 90% of the homes by the year 2020. Well, we're asking the state to put in a goal of having it to 90% of the homes by 2015. You know, it's a way of trying to put pressure on the system so that, you know, higher broadband speeds will occur. And so a lot of the work that happened in here now has went that route. And so, you know, we don't know what we'll get out of it, but hopefully we'll get some of it. Also met with CenturyLink, and we had some discussions about the western part of the county, on that western end where they have some service problems. They assured me that those are in their plans now, and that service out there will improve in the next year or so. AT&T, I don't have information with AT&T, unfortunately. I wish I did. And Charter, either one. So the underserved still in the western part is a concern, but there is movement in the broadband. Yeah.
Well, my particular interest is funding for embryonic businesses and capital for embryonic businesses. And I've done a number of things in the last several months. I went to the Chamber Washington Forum. That was very interesting. Went to the Appalachian Innovation Institute one-day conference. Went down to Wilmington to the North Carolina Entrepreneurial Summit. And learned a lot of things and developed a lot of contacts and resources. But something that came out to me out of the Wilmington Entrepreneurial Summit, interesting things that I've learned about what the Triad Regional Partnership does for that region that we don't get from the Charlotte Regional Partnership, but I won't get into that. But there was a venture capitalist in Wilmington, and he said, you know, if you're a qualified investor and you invest in the right company, the next year you get 25 cents on the dollar back.
Up to 25%.
And if the business goes bust, now I understand small businesses fail on the rate of 9 out of 10 fail. He said in North Carolina, if the business if that investment becomes worthless, you get up to 50 cents on the dollar back. So theoretically, he said in North Carolina you're only risking 25 cents when you invest $1 in the right small business entrepreneurial effort. And you know, now you say, well, what is a qualified investor? Well, it changed under the most recent finance laws, but you have $1 million, not including your house, but it includes anything that your spouse owns. So if you and your spouse own as much as $1 million, not including your residence, or if you have made $200,000 a year for the last 5 years, then you are a qualified investor, and you can take advantage of these tax breaks. Now, it strikes me that most doctors in Catawba County, probably a good many of the lawyers, and probably half of our chamber members fit this criteria of being qualified investors. And yet they don't realize the advantages that they would have in either investing in or lending to with some sort of a bond or a convertible instrument to our entrepreneurial startup businesses. And it seems to me we could reach out and identify to our high-income, high-net-worth people what these opportunities are. That might happen. They don't want to identify themselves. I mean, they don't want to get into a room because they don't want to say how much they're worth. But that might happen by educating the accountants in the area. I've thought of how do we reach out and sort of make people aware that these opportunities are there and how they might be involved in funding small business, and reaching out and working with the accountants in the region might be a start. And that's just something I learned. Bill, I'd be interested in what you have to say about what I've learned.
You really confuse two things that are really unrelated. One is the QVB, the Qualified Business Venture, QVB, Qualified Business Venture Tax Credits, and North Carolina tax credits of up to 25%, capped at $8 million.
I'm in a meeting right now. I'll get right back with you. Thank you.
Qualified business ventures, for investments in them. The other one is an SEC.
Well, I've been working with a small business for 2 years, and I have no idea what a qualified venture is.
The other one is an SEC designation for a qualified investor. And that is the one that you were quoting. It has to do with the person's net worth, slightly over $1 million now with the new legislation, and $250,000 and $200,000 annual salary.
Or $200,000 for 5 years.
And a reasonable expectation of having that in the coming year. Two different purposes there, but the fact of the matter is that there are tax credits that are available for investment in qualified ventures. We also are probably going to see capital gains eliminated, at least for a certain time, as long as there's a 5-year holding period. So that's going to be helpful also. The critical issue is, do we have need for the capital in this area? Are there deals that are going unfunded or leaving the area for lack of capital? And if so, is there an opportunity there for high net worth individuals to make some investments in entrepreneurial enterprises here?
Well, in an earlier era, there were furniture and textile companies being founded weekly. So we have people here that have ideas and the will to start businesses.
I don't understand about the lobbying efforts that take place from private industry around here that go towards Raleigh? I mean, it doesn't seem like there are many. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, but you know, like he's talking about, I mean, those sound like some convoluted tax measures to me that he's discussing right there that really don't get at the heart of the issue.
Well, they're tax advantages that people take advantage of and that they should be there. They are incentives, and they're doing what they're intended to do.
But I think, don't you agree that probably only a small percentage of the people who are in fact qualified in this county know of these tax advantages?
I would say, so nationally, I would say that the capacity for angel investors to be actively involved in angel investing is about tenfold greater than it is. There's about $30 billion nationwide, and more recently about $22 billion that's deployed, capital that's deployed for angel investing. We think there's probably $300 billion available, about 10 times that much. Now, it's still up to an individual if they want to invest, but having more information on that, being better informed, can be an inducement to that.
But I've suggested that reaching out to our chamber members who are in fact CPAs and giving them the information so that, and maybe financial advisors also, giving them the information so that they can advise their high income, high net worth people about this opportunity.
We'd be glad to do that.
Well, I think that's an idea, and I think what you're proposing is we just need to look at reaching out.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, as far as the lobbying efforts and the effort of Catawba County and Raleigh.
Well, maybe so. You're talking about maybe changing the tax laws. That's
No, I'm not. That's not. I mean, that was just part of the subject matter. But what I'm talking about is that we hear local government officials that say that we're not properly represented by Raleigh. Okay, and I think that is there a Catawba County interest group that goes down to Raleigh? And you know, I know that we go down there and talk, but I mean, this was formed by somebody who had a special interest that got this tax measure passed through. Is there something that we can do specific to this area because we're hurting in our manufacturing?
It's there. The tools are there. We just haven't informed our people that the tools are there. We don't need a change in tools. We just need to let people know that they're laying on the ground for them to pick up and use.
Okay.
Won't you write a article for the paper?
Well, I don't know if that'd get in the paper, but you know, I mean, we can do everything we can to get the word out about what you're speaking of, and that's the thing is that when you take the kind of passion that you're displaying there, but you're also displaying the frustration, and you know, get that message out, by whatever means is necessary.
That's a good example of how this could be a tool, one of those tools that help with the information dissemination, the awareness.
I think you definitely need to explore this and see if there's a way we can get this information
let's do
out.
that. With our member CPAs, like Doug and others.
You know, I went on the internet and tried to find out what a company had to do to be qualified. You couldn't find it. Now, I was able to dig out what a qualified investor is, but what a qualified company is, federal listed laws.
It's easier and quicker to find the ones that are not qualified.
How do you become qualified is what I'm saying.
You don't have to become qualified. You either are or you are not.
You know,
building apartments or condos at the beach for Catawba County is not qualified investment. Almost all manufacturing would be.
You know, of the people who went through our Kaufman Institute fast track last year, a lot of good ideas were there. Probably a third of the people had good ideas. None of them had been funded. So, you know, the Kaufman Institute was a great opportunity, but if these people come in with these ideas and none of them get funded, and probably only a third of them were worth even a moment's notice. But that third hasn't been funded either.
Well, there's the Steve Alvister Foundation right there.
Clarify something with the chamber newsletter.
Really?
That's kind of the quiet way to get to those people.
Say what?
Is
To
it-
bring
is
this
the email
conversation
blast
to an
in the
end,
chamber
but
newsletter.
we got people that need to be. So, Steve, we need to take this idea and further flesh it out here and see if we can work with the chamber. Appreciate you bringing that to us.